Hello and welcome to a quick review of trigonometry. This is section 77 from the higher revision guide. So I'm just going to work through the revision guide page. Hope you find this useful. So work out the size of each of the angles marked with the letters, giving your answer to three significant figures. And we've got, just to make this clear, I always say, and they're saying there to label all the sides. I never label all the sides. I only label the sides I'm working with. So for the first one, I'm only using the opposite and the adjacent, and only one of my trig ratios has an O and an A in, and that's the tan ratio. The version that I'm using, I'm trying to work out the angle, so it's going to be tan is equal to opposite over adjacent. So we've got that here, tan x is equal to opposite over adjacent. So the opposite was 8.9. and the adjacent, let's zoom in on that slightly, and the adjacent is 6.4. So I tend to jump straight to my calculator at this point, and I would go shift tan because I want the inverse, and then I would type it in as a fraction as it appears. So 8.9 over 6.4. And I know in theory that that's not a fraction because we've got decimals within it, but our calculator will handle that. So I would go and then to write it down to more accurate than the question has asked for. 0, dot, 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 and then to avoid any issues with the rounding error. Okay, part B. So similarly, I'm only going to label the two sides I'm working with. So I'm working with this side here, which would be the hypotenuse, and I'm using this side here, which would be the adjacent. So my trig ratio that involves an h and an h is going to be the cos ratio, and I'm trying to work out the angle here, so it's going to be cos to the minus 1. Cos of the angle is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So I'm going to say that is 9.7 over 18.2. So I'm going to say that cos to the minus 1 is equal to 9.7, I misread my writing there. 8.7 divided by 18.2. And again, I've done that again, 9.7. Let's write that a little bit neater. So 9.7 divided by 18.2. Then I would include an extra line and just say what that is to a few more decimal places than is asked for. Just to check that I've typed that in right. Yep. So that's going to give me 57.7938 dot dot dot, and then round it to three significant figures. Is going to be 57.8. I'm just double checking here. What did it ask for? Three significant figures. Yep. Okay. So my next one then. So from scratch, if this is the angle that we're working with, this is going to be the hypotenuse and this is going to be the opposite. So I'm using the sine ratio this time. So sine of z is going to be equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse, so O over h, which is going to be equal to 12.6 over, no, wrong way around, 6.5 over 12.6. So I'm going to say z is going to be equal to sine to the minus 1 of that, 6.5 over 12.6. So going more accurate than asked for in the question, sine, type it in as a fraction, 6.5 over 12.6 is going to be equal to 31.0558 dot dot, so to three significant figures, 31.1. Okay, so question 2. Let's zoom in a little bit. That'll do. So one end of a rope is tied to the top of a vertical mast of height 7.2. I'm going to put this information into the diagram as I read it. 7.2. When the rope is pulled tight, the other end is on the ground 3.7 meters from the base of the mast. So 3.7 there. Work out the angle between the ground and the rope. So I'm going to call that X for now. So let's switch pen colour just to make this clear. So this side is going to be the opposite and this side is going to be the adjacent. So I'm going to be using the tan ratio. So I'm going to go tan is equal to opposite over adjacent. So I'm going to jump straight in a little bit here and I'm going to say that X is going to be equal to tan to the minus 1 of the opposite, so 7.2 over the adjacent 3.7. So X is going to be equal to shift over 3.7. So that's going to give me 62.18 dot dot dot. And we'll go through some different figures again. So 62.8. Right, question 3. This diagram shows two right-angled triangles. Work out the size of the angle marked with the X. Okay, so for this, we're going to use, we have to work out this distance here, and we're going to use Pythagoras to work that out. So that's the hypotenuse. So we'll do this here. Y squared is going to be equal to 18.6 squared plus 7.9 squared. So y is going to be equal to the square root of that. So I'm going to go shift square root, cube root. I'm going to go shift square root of 18.6 squared plus 7.9 squared. That's going to be equal to 20.208 dot dot dot, and then trigonometry. So this is going to be equal to the opposite side, and this is going to be equal to the hypotenuse. So O and H I'm using sine, so the sine ratio is S is equal to O over H. So I'm going to say that X is going to be equal to sine to the minus 1 of the opposite side, which is y. I'm just going to type it in as y now rather than write it as the decimal version, divided by 25.3. And I've still got this in my calculator, so this is my answer at the moment. So shift sine, and then as a fraction, I'm going to type answer over 25.3. Close my bracket, and that's equal to, so X is going to be equal to 53.01. 011, and three significant figures, that's going to be 53.0. Okay, question 4. Diagram shows that a pitch roof. Haley wants to use smooth tile to cover the roof. The smooth tile can only be used when the angle X is at least 17 degrees. Can she use the smooth tile on her roof? Give a reason for your answer. Okay, so this is going to be the hypotenuse, and this side here would be the adjacent. So I'm using the cos ratio. So cos is equal to A over H. So in this case, X is going to be equal to cos to the minus 1 of 3 divided by 3.2. I shouldn't really have all these equals on the same line, but we're a bit limited on space. So shift cos as a fraction 3 over 3.2. Close my bracket. So that's going to give me 20.364 ... Can she use the smooth tile on this roof? Give a reason for your answer. No, as 20.4 degrees is greater than 17 degrees. And I've misread this when the angle X is at least 17. So that should be yes, as 20.4 is greater than 17. And question 5. Simon is making a metal slide at home. The diagram shows his slide. He estimates that the slide has to be at an angle of at least 35 degrees for him to go down the slide. Can he go down the slide? Give a reason for your answer. So again, we want angle Y to be greater than 35. So this is going to be our opposite. This is going to be our adjacent. So we're using our tan ratio. So tan is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. So y is going to be equal to tan to the minus 1 of 1.8 over 2.9. And again, a bit limited on space, so I'm going to work across rather than down. So shift tan, and we'll type it in as a fraction, 1.8 over 2.9. Close the bracket, and that's going to be equal to 31.827 ... So the angle needs to be at least 35 degrees, so no. Can he go down the slide? No. 31.8 degrees is greater than, is less than 35 degrees. Okay, and that's that page. I hope you found that useful. Subscribe if you like.